Good morning, everybody, and welcome to our webinar on IPM performance for the month of January. So we are covering very interesting topics today, wherein we will be looking at how the Jan month has performed. But besides the performance of the month of Jan, we also try to do some analysis of impact of NLEM on the IPM. Since our data was released yesterday, I really did not have that much time to work on Jan 23 data, but we have this complete analysis done for the MAT December data, which will at least give you an idea of how the annualized impact looks on the top therapies, some key molecules within the therapies. After that, we have IPM therapy performance for the month at an overall level as well as growth drivers, the top corporates and brands. In our opinions that matter section today, we have a very interesting discussion with Mr. Handa, who is president of, wherein we will be looking at consistency in brand communication. So we will be starting with impact of NLEM on IPM. Now, when we look at NLEM, what we have done is we have looked at what is the scope, what is the reference price, and what is the total impact that we are seeing in the NLEM discussion. When we looked at the molecules that have got covered, close to 384 molecules and combinations have got covered in the this entire NLEM 22. And the reference price that is being used is July 2022 PTR. And the impact on IPM that we have seen is a negative 2,200 crore impact that the overall IPM has shown. We have also seen that it is a few therapies or a few molecules that have got impacted more. There are 2 to 3 supergroups where the contribution of, or the number of amount of portfolio that has come under control is on a relatively higher side. The approach that we have done is we have referred to the NLEM 22 circular, and we have identified the molecules, the combinations, the strength, the drug type that have come under price control as per the NLEM circular, and prepared a cluster of SKUs. When I say SKU, is a cluster of packs. Then we have filtered the packs with market share of 1% and above in terms of value in that category or cluster. After that, we have taken the average price per counting unit across these packs. This becomes the price as per NLEM circular. And then we have calculated the price of the whole unit, that is one strip, using the price per counting units. So when I'm saying counting unit, it is the lowest unit. So if a strip has 10 tablets and it's priced at rupees 100, then the price per counting unit, that is the price per tablet, becomes rupees 10. So our calculation happens at a base level so that we arrive at a proper analysis. And then we multiply the ceiling price with the number of whole units captured. So once I get the price per tablet, then I multiply and get the price per pack. And then I look at the value, which is the original value with the pricing before the NLEM and the pricing after the NLEM ceiling price. The difference between the two prices gives me the impact. So this is how we have done the calculations. And this is exactly as per our understanding of the circular and the clarity that we have got regarding the circular. Now, when we are looking at the impact of NLEM, now what I have done over here is, since I have already informed that I have done working on December data, this is the total market. This is the coverage that comes under NLEM, and this is the coverage that comes under non-NLEM. So overall, close to 17% of the IPM has got impacted by the NLEM. However, all the therapies have not got equally impacted. It is the cardiac, it is the anti-infectives, the neuro-CNS, the anti-neoplastics, the hormones, and the anti-malarials therapies where the impact has been on a relative side. Now, if I were to look at the market share of these therapies, the top 10 therapies, they contribute to almost 90% of the market. So a major impact would be in terms of absolute value would be seen in these therapies. The highest contribution of this comes from the anti-infectives therapy, where more than 900 crore is the downward impact that the therapy has shown, followed by the cardiac therapy, followed by the gastrotherapy, and followed by the neurotherapy. So the portfolio that has come under NLEM for gastro in terms of absolute percentage may be a little on a lesser side, but the impact is on a higher side. Then we looked at across categories. Now in this table, what I have done is, I have not taken all the molecules which have been impacted. I have taken only those molecules where the downward impact is 5 crores or more. So in the cardiac therapy, it is some of the core antihypertensives like telmisartan, metoprolol, amlodipine, ramipril, propranolol, atenolol, which have got impacted. And if you look at the percent of portfolio impacted, you will see a significant percent of the portfolio in these molecules. So when I'm saying percent of the portfolio, it is the the strengths, the drug types that have got impacted. In case of lipid-lowering drugs, it is atorvastatin. Here it is clopidogrel, and heparins, it is the enoxaparin, where I am seeing a major impact. Now, besides these molecules, there are a good number of other molecules as well, which have shown the impact. But in terms of turnover, the molecules are relatively smaller. And also in terms of impact, it is either 4 crores or, just 50,000 or so, 50 lakhs or so. So I have not included them in this. Next comes the anti-infectives therapy, in which close to 50% of the anti-infectives therapy has gone in the NLEM impact, of which amoxicillin plus clavulanic acid, meropenem, cefuroxime, these are the three molecules which have shown a negative impact of 100 crore and above. Other therapies or other molecules definitely are impacted, but then these three molecules are the ones which are of the highest impact. Also within the anti-infectives, we have itraconazole, fluconazole, which have shown a significant impact. And there are two molecules in the antivirals. However, in terms of absolute numbers, the impact may not look very great, but almost the entire portfolio has got covered in the NLEM piece. Next, we look at the gastro segment. Within the gastro segment, only 10% of the gastro segment has come in under the NLEM impact. But then it is the ranitidine, where ranitidine and the biscodil, these are the two areas where a significant portion or significant strengths and drug types have got impacted. And if you see a relatively, in case of antacids, the entire impact is 100% above, majorly coming from the ranitidine. Pantoprazole also has got impacted, but it is only 30% of the SKUs and strengths that have got impacted. Coming to the anti-diabetes, in the anti-diabetes, it is the metformin, teneligliptin, and glimepiride, which have shown some amount of impact. Also, in case of anti-diabetes segment, it's only the 10% of the portfolio. The impact is less than 100 crores, but yes, definitely there is close to 90 crore impact that the diabetes segment has shown. Coming to the respiratory segment, again, there are close to 4 molecules where the impact has been minus 4 crore where the impact is 5 crore and above. So it is the montelukast, tiotropium, cetirizine, and the budesonide, rotacaps, inhalers, and similar preparations where the impact has been higher side. So it is these anti-asthma products which have shown a relatively higher impact. Coming to the nutritional segment, it is not the entire vitamins nutritional segment which has got impacted, but within the nutritional segments, it is only the vitamin D3 segment where a significant portfolio, close to 64% of this portfolio has got impacted and has shown a downward the value of close to 64 crores. Coming to the pain segment, it is majorly the paracetamol, where I'm seeing close to 52 crore value down, followed by baclofen, where around 12 crore value is down, zoledronate, where I'm seeing close to 10 crore value down. But then in the analgesic segment, overall, if you see, only the 14% of the portfolio has got impacted, and of which the majority is the paracetamol range. Coming to the derma segment, within the derma segment, it is mupirocin and povidone iodine, which have got impacted. Mupirocin, almost the entire segment has got impacted with a downward value of close to 26 crores. Neuro-CNS is one more segment where the significant amount of significant portfolio is impacted. Close to 21% of the neuro-CNS segment has got impacted, in which if you see among the anti-epileptics, almost 50% of the anti-epileptics portfolio has got impacted. Levetiracetam, clonazepam, and carbamazepine, these are the ones where more than 80% of the SKUs have got impacted. And when it comes to levetiracetam, the downward value is close to 18 crore, and which is a significant value. Besides that, we have amitriptyline, flunarizine, and zolpidem, where a significant chunk, almost 100% of all the SKUs have got impacted. Now over here, I have taken only the molecule within this. So the percentage may vary because it's only the contribution of this molecule to this entire whole segment. Coming to the gynac segment, it is only the three hormonal products, norethistone, medroxyprogesterone, and HCG, which have shown an impact, of which these two molecules, almost the entire SKUs or entire SKU range has got impacted. And for in case of norethistone, it's only the 55% of the market. However, in terms of absolute value impact, it is the HCG segment where it is close to 40 crore down. So what we have done is we have not done it for all the molecules. We have done it for the top 10 therapies. In case you want an understanding for the lower molecules, or also in case of molecules in which you are present, we have the complete analysis available at our end. Coming to the next section is how has the NLM impact happened at the top corporates, or what is the contribution, or how have the top corporates been impacted by the NLEM. Top 50 corporates, they contribute to almost 90% of the IPM. That's the reason why we have done this analysis for the top 50% corporates. So here it is the rank. So this is the cumulative contribution of the companies which are between rank 1 to 10. These companies, they contribute to close to 46% of the IPM. And out of the 2,200 crore impact, they are actually having contribution of around 42. So this 938 is almost 42% of 2,200 crore. What I am seeing is the companies between rank 11 to 20, which are contributing to 23% of the market, they are having a proportionately higher share in the impact. So if you see, they are contributing to 32% of the negative impact that the NLEM has shown. So while rank 1 to 10 companies, they are contributing to 42%, here the contribution is 32%. So we are seeing a higher impact of NLEM in this range of companies. The rest of the companies, the contribution to the IPM is also on a lower side. And if you see, the proportionate contribution of the negative impact is also proportionately in line with their contribution to the IPM. Then we go to our IPM therapy performance, wherein we have looked at for this month, the market has shown a unit degrowth. The highest degrowth is seen from certain therapies like anti-infectives, nutritionals, and pain analgesic segment, where the degrowth is on a relatively higher side, almost double-digit degrowth in the top therapy segment. I focus more on the top therapies because they contribute to 90% of the market. However, even in case of smaller therapies, we are also seeing a double-digit degrowth in case of some therapies. Then we looked at the growth drivers. If you see, even for the month of January 23, the growth is predominantly value-driven growth. And over here, it's a significantly higher volume-driven degrowth. At least for the month of December, the volume-driven degrowth was not there. But for the month of January, we are seeing a value-driven degrowth. We try to analyze whether if it is all the therapeutic segments have shown this type of volume-driven degrowth, or is it some specific therapeutic segments which have shown this higher volume-driven degrowth. So over here, I would say this section, okay, this table is the Jan growth drivers for the month of January. So till here, I would say till gynac segment, from cardiac to gynac segment, these are the therapies which come in the top 10 therapies of the IPM, contributing to 90%. So what we are seeing is these top therapies are the ones which have shown a significant volume degrowth, whereas the other therapies have shown a decent volume growth. Now, because these top therapies contribute to 90% of the IPM, their heavy degrowth has influenced the degrowth of the volume degrowth of the IPM. Then we look at the top 40 corporates. Now, despite there being, what I have done over here is for the month of January, we will focus on the value and unit growth across the different companies. Obviously, if the entire IPM is degrowing by around 7.7%, majority of the companies would be showing that type of degrowth. However, if you see two companies like Mankind and Cipla, despite the heavy volume degrowth shown by the market, these two companies are still on a positive growth track. Then we also looked at the next 20 corporates, how they have performed. You will see Laranon is one company where other companies are showing a heavy degrowth. This is one company which is on a double-digit positive growth. Then we look at the top brands. So Augmentin and Glycomed GP, these two brands, they maintain their rank 1 and rank 2 at a MAT level. So which is a very good sign that despite there being a challenge in the market, challenges in the market, Augmentin has continued to grow. And if you see Augmentin's growth in the unit growth for the month of January, it still continues to have a double-digit unit growth, despite the fact that anti-infectives is a category which has shown the highest degrowth for the month of January. Also, among the next brands, this Rhizodec from Abbott has shown a very encouraging double-digit growth in terms of value and units at a MAT level as well as for the month. So this was all about the impact of NLEM and how the IPM has performed for the month of January. So if I were to talk about the key takeaways, the NLEM has a negative impact of close to 2,200 crore on the IPM annualized value. This I have done for the month of December calculation, MAT December calculation. Cardio, anti-infectives, neuro CNS are among the bigger therapy areas that have been significantly impacted. Whatever analysis I have shared is a very top level analysis. In case you would like to have a detailed analysis at a subgroup level, at some of the brand levels of your organization, we do have the same available. Rank 11 to 20 companies have a proportionately higher impact due to NLEM 22. And as far as for the month of January is concerned, a strong volume degrowth is seen across majority of the bigger therapies. But despite this volume degrowth, there are some companies like Mankind, Cipla, and Laranon, which have shown a positive unit growth. So this was about the IPM performance. And next we go to our most liked section of the webinar every month is Opinions That Matter, wherein we have a very interesting discussion with Mr. A.K. Handa, President Centaur Pharmaceuticals, on consistency in brand communications and how it has really helped Centaur to make a difference with some of their core brands in the market.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a brand new and very exciting episode of Opinions That Matter. Many of you would agree with me that the Indian pharma industry is very unique because we believe in nurturing talent from within. We have innumerable examples of medical representatives rising ranks and reaching the top. We have many medical representatives who are today heading big corporates and taking the organization to even greater heights. Today we have an opportunity of speaking to one such living example, Mr. A.K. Handa, who's the president of Centaur Pharmaceuticals. Mr. Handa started his journey as a medical representative and has worked in various functions including sales and marketing, product management, and today is heading Centaur Pharma to greater heights. So welcome to Opinions That Matter. Sir, congratulations for Synarist winning the AWACS PharmaRec Marketing Excellence Award. Now, this is the 7th time in a row that Synarist has won the award. What's so special about Synarist? Can you please tell us why is Synarist always the jury's favorite?
It does make me proud and make me proud of the team because it's everybody's effort which is together put in. And this is FIFA season. And if you look at FIFA, the first is the goal, the second the brace, hat-trick. Then you have the whole glut, then double hat-trick. And this was double hat-trick on the trot earlier. And now you have the 7th is called the whole trick. I think it's nice, and I've also had the industry colleagues come back and ask me, there must be something which is happening good and nice with Synarist. But I tell my people, what is one part of the story? I tell them stay grounded. You know, just about little time back, I was in the clinic of Dr. Vatsal Parekh. And Dr. Vatsal Parekh needs no introduction. He is the leading eminent retina surgeon in Bombay. And I told him, I said, you are a doctor of international acclaim. He was the first to get a equipment which is Silverstone Optos retinal imaging machine costing few crores. And he tells me to slow down, and he recites a verse from Koshtaki Upanishad, and which is Esha hi ev sadhu karam karyati yam tam ebhya lokebhya utnanishyate. Now the verse says that anybody God wants to succeed or have fame, so he makes them do good things. So I came back, it was a good lesson. So I was just thinking, I thought that, look, Bhagavad Gita, you have that your right is unto duty, not fruit thereof. And here he has this Koshtaki Upanishad shloka which he recited. So what it says is that till you accomplish, you go by the verse which Bhagavad Gita says. You see, so that you are focused and your total concentration doing what you are doing. You're not thinking of the fruit. But once when you have accomplished, I thought this Koshtaki Upanishad, this verse, it does you good. So actually you've got to be swaying between both of them. Any brand, leave aside Sinarest. You see, any brand in the industry, which brand does good. So one thing which is important is that the entire organization has got to be aligned. So it is not an individual one person, so it's the entire company. We have that 7S framework, which everybody knows, which is your skill and structure and style and system and strategy and staff and superordinate. I'll give you a Desi version of it, which is closer to my colleagues in the company, and I always tell them. I said, look, the brand is like a seed. So when you carry the seed has got to be good quality. And the quality is very essential and important, because apparently, the myth that since regulatory approved all brands same quality. If you look at US, the doctors, 60% of them would think that one product, same formulation, is different from the other in quality. In fact, the general public, they say 50% in the survey, they say 50% think this quality is not the same as the other. So you've got to have good quality. If you look at from 1950 till 2017, I think about 484 products were withdrawn because of quality. And I'm speaking of FDA. And that is how it had happened. And in fact, if every year see the 200 products which are recalled, of those 200 products, 85% are quality issues. So your seed has got to be good quality. So once when you are carrying Sinarest, let's say, so good quality product to carry, then you've got to have a fertile soil. And that's why these young marketers, they know it better than I do. I mean, they do that market research. And you have the term which they use is that I think RCPA. So do the RCPA, you carry the brand to the right doctor, very essential and important. You water it every day. That is because that's the frequency of visits. You can't have missed calls in between. So you've got to be familiar, regular visits. Doctors should recognize you. And then sun, I call the sun the signs. I call the rains the campaigns. I call clouds the opportunities. And then there's something called the wind. So the wind is the feedback. And this feedback is very important. Centaur, we have one great difference. We believe that you don't go to tell about the product to the doctor, you can ask. You see, that is how it is. And if you look at the new chemical entities which have been introduced, I'll give you my own example. Voxil has been one, we give Centaur's example. Voxil, 12 years, the R&D, the back-end team worked on it. Multiple clinical trials which were done. So 12 years you work on a product, Voxil comes, the first time in the world. There are only, I think, a handful of molecules which India has introduced for the first time as new chemical entities. So when we did this for diabetic foot ulcer, so we knew the molecule better than anybody else. Obviously, because you work on that molecule for 12 years. But once when you introduce a product, I believe in just about a month's time, clinician knows the product better. So one is that brand like Sinarest, I think over the years, it has to work. So that means that trust and efficacy, they've got to be established, doctor has to experience. Now that is very important. So that's the wind. So that means the wind is important. Then you have the fertilizers. Fertilizers, nothing but the nutrition. You must keep on reinforcing science in your brand through maybe the updates and new medical references. Even today we have a series called Science in Sinarest. So that means we only carry science into the clinic. So we have science in CNRS. We also have some recent advances in sinusitis, and so that's what we do. So that's then you have the tools, and these are the platforms. You see, the platforms today have changed. You have the digital platform, you have the conferences, advisory meetings. So these are the platforms which you use, and then most of all, you have the gardeners. And I mean, you have the brand managers, your PMT colleagues, you have the medical reps and the field managers. So these are the gardeners, and that means they do the job. Then you find the seed, not only sprouts, you got those leaves. I call these leaves the clinical visit outcomes. And then you have the fruits and the flowers, and these are the prescriptions. And then you find someday CNRS becomes a banyan tree, and you sit under and bask under its shade, and this is how it is. So that means you do that work initial, and then you reap benefits later, and this is how the entire Srishti works. So any brand which is leading the portfolio, which is forged ahead a bit, so it begins to attract both investment and attention, which is from the company, from everybody, and so success begets success. I think that is how it happens.
So can you tell us more about CNRS then? What has been the journey of CNRS? How has the brand evolved over the years?
So Richa, another very interesting thing I'll tell you is, before 95, because I've been in the organization over 33 years now. So before 1995, we were not even the fifth brand as far as CNRS is concerned. In fact, syrup we were still yet behind. So we did tweak the formulation, we did the packing, we brought in some positioning, new statements. It took us time. 96 we became the brand leader. And interestingly, in 1999, there was a Yale University study which happened for 5 years, and that study linked the PPA, the phenylpropanolamin, with cerebral hemorrhage. And during that period, coincidentally, you see, our chairman, Mr. S.D. Sawant was in London. So he was at Trafalgar Square, and he was at Boots Pharmacy. And that's where he calls me up, and he tells me, he says, look, Mr. Anda, I see that all those brands which contain PPA, they are getting removed from the front of the shelves in the pharmacy. And we had a discussion. We decided then and there, I think we should immediately try and change, because we could see that forthcoming withdrawal of the ban coming from US FDA. And imagine at the speed at which he worked, even before he landed in India, and he had activated every department. I think we were the first to change. And when we changed, I think we carried a statement to everybody, to the doctors. We said, for millions now who should not use PPA because it causes cerebral hemorrhage and stroke. I think that's and we bring you CNRS. So I think that was the positioning statement. We repositioned the entire brand, and it started working for us. And it worked leaps and bounds. We grew by leaps and bounds at that point of time with that shift and change. We also had a problem, because earlier, you see, you were with the doctors, the formula in the past. What also happened, then we said that CNRS has evolved with evolving rational medical science. And that was important to tell them, because the story which Yale University, which we had to give you. So what was good doesn't remain good anymore. This is science. And we have also been doing a lot of research with the doctors. I can tell you, we one company with 22,000 doctors. We started capturing fever and cold trends, and which we did with 22,000 doctors. We did this across India, different seasons, and we did that every month. And today you have the cold index, you see. So we prune down to sizable, statistically significant sample, and we get that. So this is an epidemiological long study which we will do, and which we continue. I think that's how we keep on reinforcing the story. Our main core theme remains as the theme is. That we keep on doing, because at the end of the day, they say that ekam sat vipra bahuda vadanti. You see, so it's the same truth, but different brand managers come in, they want to express it differently. Number one. Second, with sequence of visual aids, keep on reinforcing it. I think that is how, that's where it is. So today, CNRS continues to do what it is doing. It's a brand which we go and ask the doctors. I think it's trusted. We generate 2 prescriptions per second. So it's God has been kind. People have worked hard. Everybody, all departments. And I think I have to salute my medical reps, the field colleagues, and the brand managers, in addition to everybody, the office, all departments.
Now, sir, since I've had the opportunity of interacting with you many times before, I know that you have so many examples and stories to share when it comes to the change that has happened with the overall industry, how the working environment has changed. Why don't you share a few examples or a few of your stories with our audience as well?
Yeah, a lot of things have changed. You see, the facilities are plenty today for the, and I'll give you an example what I mean by infrastructure has changed. The technology is different. The platforms, which analytic platforms everybody has, are different. So I'll give you one very interesting incident. You know, I was working in a place called Balrampur in UP, and you will understand what I mean. And there is Tulsipur is another interior, and this is Lucknow, Gonda, Balrampur, Tulsipur. You see, that's where I went and worked. I'm speaking of way back, maybe 40 years. And this place is about 25 years. There's this gentleman, he was the colleague of mine. So he told me, he said, sir, there's no pakka tar road. So it's all, and it's very dusty. And should we go by the motorcycle? I can tell you, we all dressed in dust. So I said, what do we do? And he says, it's also risky because the mobile may slip. So I said, what do we do? He said, my neighbor has horses. So he says, I'll ask him, and he'll give us horses. So I said, I did only in the school when I did that horse riding. So he says, sir, then he's giving me gyan. The gyan which he's giving me, he says, 3 things in life you don't forget. He says, you don't forget swimming, you don't forget horse riding, you don't forget cycling. So don't worry, sir, you'll be safe. And these are very friendly horses. They are tamed, they are domestic. So I said, all right. So imagine we go 20-25 kilometers, both of us trot on the horse, takes us over an hour. And when we reach there, as the stockist, first we go there, we said, please look up and see that we are presentable in the clinic. So we go to that stockist, looks at us. So he says, sir, kya lenge? I said, humko chai pilaiye, inko ghas dijiye. So that has changed. I still remember, and then technology. We didn't have mobile phones during those days. I had a colleague of mine, his name was Jagmohan Singh Bist, and I'm working at a place called Joshimath in Uttarakhand, now Uttarakhand. And it is, these towns had a rule, you know, you can't leave them after 8 o'clock in the evening. And we were working the whole day. Never past 8 o'clock, we can't leave the town because they close the gates. They believe that there would be landslides and problems. And it was, I think it was the month of March, and the temperature was 3 degrees at night. And just ahead, you could see snowfall everywhere. And I think the next day, Badrinath was opening. And there was no place, we had a place to live. We never thought we were going to stay there. We thought we'll come back. And we didn't get a hotel. Now there's a problem. So this gentleman, I remember his name, Mr. Dobriyal. And Mr. Dobriyal was the forest officer there. So I meet him. So I tell him, I said, look, he said, don't worry, I'll try and put you in the forest guest house, which he could not. So I told him, I said, take my landline number just in case, you see, because we'll freeze too. We don't know what happens at night. So he took pity on us and takes us to his home. And imagine 2 strangers, we go and stay night at a home of another stranger. He didn't know us. And morning we had a hearty breakfast. And so what has happened over the years, if you ask me the change, the social support has gone down. And I'm not speaking only of the time when you travel. You see, it's also the families and society in general. Technology has gone up. And technology has gone up to an extent that today you know everything which you capture as demographics and psychographics, the profiling of the doctor, whatever you do, you capture it remains there. Even if the managers, if the new man comes in, so he has that everything ready. So today, if you have we have the demographic profile, we call them sex, age, geography, education, family, income, religion, and you also call those psychographies or activities, interests, opinions. So you capture them. We today capture the passions of doctors. In fact, I'm one company where I've got that entire program. Wherever doctors' passions are captured, and they do good. So technology has been one big advantage. There is an area where there has been no change, and that area has been the MR and Doctor Connect today remains the biggest predictor of new brand prescription.
So, from what I hear, science and ethics seems to be the hallmark of Centaur. How do you sustain this business model?
So what happens here is, so as you know, in Bhagavad Gita, it is yat yat acharati shreshtaha tatta devitro jana so yat pramane kurute lokas tatanuvartate. So it is as the raja, so the praja, as the principal, the school, so as the fathers, the family, and as the head of the organization, so as our chairman, so the organization, everybody underneath. So the philosophy has been, let us stick to science. And there's something which I very strongly believe is that there are two concerns that the doctor has. What are those two concerns? One is that quality products. That's all. You want high quality product. And second, you want the patient benefit. That means you want the clinical outcome. So you want the patient benefit. Now these are the doctor's concerns. These are my concerns. So once when you find that these two concerns are matching, so the relationship is established. So I think that's the basis of the relationship. So we keep on reinforcing science all the time. And second is that I do a lot of surveys to find out if I'm on the right track. You know, it may not be that my people are not happy, the reps are not happy with the practices, with only scientific practices which we adhere to. So I do that survey. I also do with the doctors. So I had 10 things which I had written down. And of those 10 things which I did, so I picked up the top 3. The doctors felt, the colleagues felt. You see, so my field staff and everybody felt. So there are 3 things which emerged and for this organization. So one is that quality, second is science, third is ethics. Well, I believe that it's at one hand you have the personality, another hand you have the performance. So that means it may not be performance, the business goes up, the personality goes down. So I always say the personality is important, your career, development, growth. So I think that focus remains. It's working for us. And I think we are not good at doing anything else. And that is another thing, that we may not be capable of influencing the doctor in any other manner. And they say that jaisi chaha vaisi raha. So we always find our way. And what is important is that you must have the faith and conviction versus you have, of course, the doubt and reluctance. So if you are very strongly convinced, so we have been sticking to it. I told you, I said we still, even today, there's never a visit which a medical rep has to do into the clinic where we are not undertaking some scientific survey. You see, so that we keep on doing. So we keep asking the doctors questions, a little too many on different cases. And I mean, we've always got one project or another which is happening in the organization. There's never a month when Center is not doing some in-clinic project. And that's what I think keeps us kicking. Second thing is that there is an advantage for a man like me being in the organization for 30 plus years. So that means nobody can come in and sway and switch you from your current focus on science, on scientific marketing. And we have a workshop which we do. You know, this will be interesting for you. So Richa, I am one company where every month we do a workshop. And what is that workshop? We have a query model in the company. So this is a query workshop. So that means what are those questions which we have to ask the doctors? And so everybody has to write them down. So imagine if there are 30, 40 people in the product management team, sales heads, everybody is doing that work. So we have an inventory of the questions. Then the ones which are medical questions, we go and ensure that they are reinforced by, they are validated by the medical team. So that means we get that inventory, so we keep on undertaking all these surveys. And that is how I think we get. So that interaction becomes both ways. We have the mascot, right? And how wonderful that mascot is. It's a joker and relevant mascot which we have got. So the red nose, and I mean signifies cold. And second is that in life, if you look at when you are isolated and you're very angry at society, so this joker comes and he somehow gives you a little relief. Same is the case, a person who's suffering from severe cold. He is angry with the virus and he's isolated. So Chinnares comes as relief.
So thank you so much for this interaction. It is lovely talking to you. As always, I love speaking to you on various occasions. Thank you so much. And thank you to our audience for joining us today morning. Have a lovely day ahead.